Okay, Haumi taku yapi. Ke dainawachi akapido. Again, my name is Elijah Hopkins. We're streaming at you live from Fort Peck Community College. Again, I asked Mr. Dekshi Jim Redigal to join us and share a few things with us. So I want to thank him again for joining us. And so Mr. Jim Redigal, I know last week we talked about the Black Hills, and that was a very well-received presentation. A lot of people really liked that. So for today, I'm not sure exactly what we wanted to present on, but I'll turn the floor over to you at this time. So again, Pirama.
Midakiapi, Tatanka Okua Oyate, Buffalo Chaser people. Jim Redigal. Today, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. When I talked about the Black Hills and why they were sacred to the Ocheti Shakawi Oyate. I didn't say everything, and there's not enough time in an hour to include everything. Hopefully, I explain things in a clear way for understanding. The Black Hills ties into our ceremonies and why and when we do things. So I mentioned in the last, I think we got cut off, I was talking about the hot springs. I'm not sure if it picked up where we left off, and I mentioned about the Washichu wanted to know where the hot springs was when they came into the Black Hills, and we wouldn't tell them. So finally, they offered a man a horse in exchange for them to show them where the hot springs were. Mini Wiwila Kata hot springs. So he, as I mentioned, he showed him where it was in exchange for a horse. And that night he tied that horse up outside of his lodge, and a thunderstorm came through, and that horse was struck and killed by lightning. So consequences for things we shouldn't be doing in our lifetime. Right now, this is springtime. We call wetu. Wetu, what it really means is new blood. When there's new blood, there's new life born upon the earth. And during this time, we acknowledge that all creation, I mentioned there's 4 levels of creation. Another way to say it is the Hunumpa Oyate, the 2-legged, mankind, the bear. Another is the Hodupa Oyate, the 4-legged, the deer, the elk. And then we have the Hopahu Oyate, the winged ones. And Ashla, Oyate, the crawling nation, those that crawl on the earth. So those are the four levels in creation, and now they're going through the process of renewing life here, giving birth. In the summertime, the stars up above align with the 7 altars that I briefly explained in the Black Hills. And at summertime, the Black Hills turn sideways and aligns with those star constellations. The one called Tayamani, that really is a standing buffalo in the star world. And when they align with the sacred altars in the Black Hills, it becomes a buffalo laying on the earth. then all the names for those sites change. I kind of drew it here. This is the Black Hills at summertime. And all those altars become part of the buffalo. Normally it's shaped like this. You gotta forgive my drawings. But and then at summer solstice it turns sideways left. And the names change. Our ancestors called the Black Hills Wamaka Chante Oganaka, the heart of the earth. This is a satellite picture of the Black Hills, and it shows it's heart-shaped. Summer solstice, we turn it sideways, and it looks like a buffalo laying on the earth, Mother Earth. And those names all change. Iakaha becomes a Petehe Sapa, Blackhorn Butte. Matotipula, the Bear's Lodge, becomes Petehe San, or Chi, Greyhorn Butte. Bear Butte, Matopaha becomes Pete Petuya. The buffalo's kind of like part of the face here. Peshla becomes the heart of the buffalo, Tachante. Peshla is the center of the Black Hills. Wakia Wahokbe, or they call Black Elk Peak area, becomes Pete Ta'o Mini Oma. Kind of like the womb of the buffalo. Wasunye Wenke becomes Pete Oinia, where the buffalo births life. Talked about Buffalo Gap, Pete Tatiopa becomes Pete Trejiyata, where the buffalo gives birth. So at summer solstice, once all of creation is complete, then it's time for ceremonies. I'm gonna talk about our ceremonies that we were given. They all have stories about the origin, and sometimes we hear stories from different sources, and each one has a different story and how it came about. Some believe that the white buffalo calf woman brought them to us, but she just told us to incorporate them with the pipe, the Tachanumpa. The pipe came, I was told, at a time when dinosaurs roamed the earth. And if you count the years, like I said previously, the average lifespan is 70 years, and we can go back 19 generations of the pipe. So, 700 years plus almost another 700. The average lifespan is 70. It's close to 1,500 years old by estimates. So it's very old. So a lot of these ceremonies and the things we do are ancient, very old. And if you look at Christianity is really new. The Native American church is new. It's not an old religion, it's new. So I'm going to briefly explain some of the ceremonies. I'm not going to be able to explain all of them, every detail. They were given to us, these ceremonies, as tools to help us in life. There's 7 main ones, but there's actually other ceremonies too. There's ceremonies under each one that we do. I mentioned that Wasunye, or Wind Cave, that before we came out onto the earth, that there was a buffalo spirit that said, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to watch over mankind while he's on the earth. This was before we became Wichasha Akantu, man upon earth. And so we include the buffalo in a lot of our ceremonies. The buffalo usually leads them. We have a buffalo head, and usually when we put the horns on the skull, it represents that the buffalo spirit is with us. These ceremonies are, like I said, tools to help us. One of the first ones we got was Ini Kahapi, or Ini Unkahapi, the Initi, the sweat. And some of these stories, kind of conflict with what I've heard, and but I'll tell you what I was told and how I relate to them. They said the first man, when I mentioned, that came upon the earth was Tokahe. Tokahe was the first medicine man, the first Wakawi Chasha. A lot of people don't know that. You know, they just think, oh, he came out here on the earth and, you know, he just kind of went away. But he was the first medicine man, we say. He had, there was a time when there was a sickness in water. Watukala, they called it. What that means is something so small you can't see it, but we know it's there. And people were getting sick. So Tokahe went up on the hill to pray and fast for an answer. And while he was up there praying, he was told, with Koyala, with steam, heal your people and help them. There was 2 other medicine men that he helped. One was Shunk and the other was Kahi. And they helped them design the structure of the sweat lodge. Now I hear a lot of people say, it was Iahokshi, the stone boy. You know, from what I know, he just used it to help bring his uncles back to life. Even after it and then, like I said, Tokahe had that vision of the sweat lodge, and he along with those 2 medicine men, he helped. They designed it, and they come up with a protocol, the 4 doors, how it should be built, and he held the first sweat. Ini Nkarapi means to make new life. Initi, where we make life inside the sweat lodge. The sweat lodge is a way of restoring balance to us and to help us in life. It was used to rid people of that sickness, just like today we have a sickness among us. Wichote is a sickness that kills, and that's what this COVID is that we have. Tokahe, he also, when he helped the first medicine men, he had them go out in Hambletia up on the hill. And he told them to go up there and fast and pray. When you're done, come back and tell me what your visions and your dreams are. Iwohamble, Oglakapi, your vision talk, the dreams. And that's the second of the 7 ceremonies. So Shunk and Prahi, they came back and they told him. And then he said, okay, now go out and get those things in your dream. And they helped them with their altars. When Tokahe's time was up, he had them build a Upe Ganaka burial scaffold. And they laid him to rest. And those two, they put him on there and they took him away and put him up on a hill. And he went back to the star world and his body back to the earth. When he gave the Hambletia to us, the women wanted something as well for girls. So he gave the Pete Sawi Lawampi. We sometimes call it a Lawampi or Ishnati when a girl becomes of age. The Hambletia, he said, have your young men and young boys go out up on the hill, fast and pray. Because we don't know who has gifts. This also, Hambletia, to fast and pray for 4 days, teaches us one of the first virtues, and that is fortitude. To have a strong mind. Because we say our mind will fool us. We think too much with our mind and not our heart. It'll fool us. So he gave that Ishnati to young girls when they become a woman. We call it too the buffalo ceremony for young girls. And it teaches them to be industrious, to take care of their family and their loved ones. It also teaches them to live an honorable life. Among other things, shows them how to take care of themselves as women when our female relatives come and share with them and how they should behave as women. That's the third one. The fourth ceremony we have is Wayang Wachipi. We also call it Otanke Tipi, the medicine lodge or the big lodge. The Sundance we do today, and we were supposed to start it after when the summer solstice begins, after usually June 21st. Anytime after that, then we're supposed to do the Sundance. The story of the Sundance, a lot of people don't misunderstand it today. It's not about a rite of passage we do. It's something we do for a loved one who is sick in the need of prayers. And we pray and we sacrifice. Chekia na waki unyapi. We give of our chekvi, ourselves, we give of our flesh. So they'll have, and we pray and we sacrifice so they'll have life. It's not new life for us, but it's new life for our loved ones and our relatives. The story I was told, this is from Wanapreya Najicha. The translation of his name is Stampede. He said, a long time ago, a single scout was sent out alone, and he became disorientated and lost. And he ran out of food and water. And he went like that for 4 days. And he sat down thinking, my end is coming soon. He sat down and he prayed. And they say the sun come down and the sun talked to him. He said, I'm going to help you. I'm going to show you the way home. I'm going to give you food and water. For giving you new life, I want you to do this dance the following year. You do it for all new life and your relatives, those that are sick and needing healing. So he agreed to, and to think about it, knowing those altars, those places in the Black Hills, it's all tied in with these stories. You know, there was one Sundance at one time. It was at Devil's Tower, or what we call Mato Tipila. There was one. Then it was shared. We shared good things with other nations. There's 7 other nations who also are Sundance nations. And nowadays it's changed. You know, we Sundance for 4 days without food and water like that scout did. The scout goes and finds that tree and he returns with the news. That's part of the ceremony. The way a kupi hecha, when a scout returns with news. Te chica. Part of that is there's a piece of buffalo dung. They kick that when they come back. Then they sit down and they smoke the pipe. After they smoke the pipe, then they tell about their journey, their Zuya, and where that tree is. A long time ago, our scouts, after that time, they always went out in 2 so they could watch each other's back. And our scout, the Dueya Wichasha, usually they were picked from young men who had successfully completed a Sundance because they know they could go with 4 days without food and water if they had to. Anyways, that's the 4th one. The 5th one we got is Hunkayapi. Hunkayapi is to make relatives. They say a long time ago, there was two warriors, young warriors. They went out on the Zuya and they went to another nation and they stole sacred corn. And they came back with that sacred corn. And because it was sacred to that other nation, they tracked them and they found out who it was and what nation they were from. And they said, the leader told them, we want that sacred corn back. If we don't get it back, there's going to be a war. So the two leaders thought about how can we heal our people and how can we mend them, the bad feelings. So they came up with a ceremony of adopting one another, making relatives. A lot of times that hunka, we say, is also a naming. We give names during that time too. There's different ways we receive our name, and that's one way. The sixth ceremony that goes with the pipe is Nahi Wichha Yuha, the keeping with the spirit. That has a story too of origin. Wodoha Hakeshka Wakpael Wichotina Wichashawa Chinjanumpa Uma Wicha Tokapa na Uma Wiacha Hakakta Kcha Yukan Koshkalaki He Ampetu Waul El Ya Wayaza Yuka Akukuki He Lechel Okiaka. And so he said, this young man, Ate Mati Kta Dak Leha Uchoka Waji Olateki Yuhapi Ktelo Cha Heun Oyateki Wichaya Wichakchi Wo Ate Wowicha Wakiaki Delo. So all these stories I could tell them in language, but most of you, nobody will understand. A young man, he was woke up one day and he was feeling sick. And this occurred along the Platte River. And the young man, he called his father. And he told his father, I'm sick. My end is going to come soon. I want you to keep my spirit. And cut a piece of my hair and keep it. And then a year later, feed my spirit. Put my hair out. So that was the origin of that. Today we also include Ishtamini Pakiktapi, or what they call the wiping of the tears, as part of it. There's a chokecherry stick that's cut, and it's about 4 feet, and we take all the bark off except the top part. We carve a face in there. Shawi Chasha. We paint it red. And that used to be put out there when we had that feast. We'd draw a circle in the middle of wherever that feast, memorial feast was. We'd put it in the ground. And we would, when we fed the spirit, we would take that and put it underneath that stick. Then we'd give it to the loved one. And they would take care of it for a year. The following year, they bring it back, and at that memorial feast, we put it in the ground. Again, we feed it one last time. during the time, either sometime during the year, or if it hasn't been done, then we wipe the tears of our relatives. That's part of that ceremony. There's a ceremony under a ceremony for all these. When we wipe the tears, we help bring them, our relatives, back into the everyday world, our life. We're supposed to be done mourning. Long time ago, they only mourned 4 days. But now, if you were somebody great or somebody loved, we would do it for a year. It's very hard to do this. We say, our traditions are hard, because to live like this is a hard life. But again, this is meant to help us in life, tools. The seventh one that goes with the pipe is Kapawaka Wakeapi. That means to throw the ball. We have a ball. This was made out of quills. It was made out of buffalo too. And this we do for young girls. And this is to help them in life. It also reminds the people that the Creator is everywhere. So we take this and we have our young girls throw it over their head. They stand on a buffalo robe. They throw it over their head. And whoever catches is gifted something afterwards. They do it 4 times for each direction. Then you do it the 5th time straight up. This is meant also to teach them generosity, and like I said, to remember that the Creator is everywhere. So those are the 7. But there's other ceremonies that go with the pipe. When the pipe was brought to us, it said the pipe goes with leadership. So you see those old pictures, our ancestors holding a pipe. Pipe in one hand, in the eagle wing in the other. Those are just a few representations of leadership. I mentioned these 7 in the pipe. They're meant to help us in life. There's tools to help us. There's 4 steps to everything we do in life. One is we announce our intent. I'm going to do this, and that's the season of the winter. When we make chanshasha, it's announcing our intent for coming ceremonies in the new year. The songs in the ceremony, the first 4 directions. We announce our intent to creation, to the universe. The second is we prepare ourselves. Whatever we say we're going to do, we prepare ourselves for that. The third is doing what we said we were going to do. And the fourth is a wopila, or a time of reflection and looking back and giving thanks. That's the 4-step process that we do. Even we do it every day in our life. We don't think about it. You know, we got up this morning and we got ready, and in our mind, we don't have to say things out loud. Say, oh, I got to go to work, I'm going to school. And that's our announcement of our intent of what we're going to do. And we start getting ready. And then we journey, we travel to it. And then we go to work, we go to school. End of the day, we come home and, you know, we sit back and say, oh, I had a good day at school. Or we might say, oh, I had a bad day at work. Reflecting is also a time of giving thanks. The seasons are the same way. Huh? In winter, we make chanshasha. In springtime, we prepare ourselves for ceremony. It's Sambalechia time. In summer is a time of doing. So we have our ceremonies, we have Sundance. Then in fall is a time of looking back for that year, reflecting on what we did throughout the year. And then we start again in winter. We start preparing again. We make chanshasha. Same thing as Sundance. Same, every door in the sweat has meaning, and there's a reason. Sundance is the same way, the 4 days. We were told, Kante Oganaka means generosity, or to live through the heart. I mentioned about the pipe and that story about the good and bad in creation battling. So we acknowledge that in all life is a balance and a potential for good and bad. We don't have no word for evil. Oyushita is to be bad. Or bad behavior. Wawashte is good. In the sweat lodge, the structure of it is a balance of good and bad. Wayaglakia is we call the right way. I mean, the dysfunctional way. Otana is the straight way of life. So within the sweat lodge, when the willows cross to the 4 directions, that's Otona, the right way. In between that, we put those willows that go over. In between those, each direction, there's the willows that cross over, and that represents the dysfunction, acknowledgement that there is dysfunction. Even in the pipe, like I said, it possesses both good and bad because it's the blood of creation. We say that, we're born pure and innocent. We call our children Waka Yeja. Waka is sacred. Yeja is to see. They see sacred is what our word for children means. So our belief is opposite of Christianity. We're born pure. We're born pure and innocent. and wrong doings is a learned trait. So we have these ceremonies that are supposed to help us. When we do them for our children, our relatives, is to help one another. There's our purpose in life. We have two purposes in life, but we overthink things. Today we get kind of lost. You know, people look at, what am I supposed to be doing? What's my purpose in life? Our purpose is simple: to love one another and to help each other. But we complicate it because we think too much for the mind. To go Hambletya, to be part of that, Ishnati teaches our young boys and our young girls to have a strength of mind, we call fortitude, Vachitanka. When we have a strong mind, then we can't be tricked. You know, we say, live through your heart. Your first inclination, your first thought is your heart telling you what to do. A lot of times we talk ourselves out of doing things. We'll overthink things. And then we make the wrong decisions because we didn't listen to our heart. These things I'm going to talk about now are things relating to the person. You know, there's 4 parts of our heart. Even the modern man knows this. We call them the 4 chambers of your heart. But we know that the 4 parts of our heart, the first is our nahi, our spirit. The second part is our nahila, our little spirit. The other is our life breath, the wonia. And the 4th part is our shichu. For lack of a better word, and for I'm going to use a word that most people understand. We say the soul of mankind, shichu. And our shichu began by going through life. And it's who we are and who we become in life. Those are the four parts. Our spirit, our nahi, and our has experiences like today. When we are awake. Our nahila, our little spirit, has those experiences when we dream. One time I was trying to explain the difference between dream and vision to my children. We were traveling to a sister's funeral in Montana. I picked up her daughter. So I was talking about these things. And then one of my sons, he kind of picked his head up. He said, "Dad, there's no difference between a dream and a vision." I thought about it. And I realized, you're right. They're both experienced by the spirit within us. Our heart is the 7th direction. We hear about those things, huh? We hear about the 4 directions, the 7 directions. But when we become out of balance, this is the sweat we were given to restore our balance. We were given the gift of smudging to azilia, or means to draw out that negative energy within us to restore our balance. We have a thing called Oti Wote. Oti Wote, we say, is a place where we renew ourselves. That could be anything in life. We say too, it's where we're born, where our mother spilled our water on the earth. That's a Oti Wote. Today we have many Oti Wotes. We go to a Paua, Wachipi, and we see extended family and relatives and friends, and we hear drums, and we dance, we sing, we share food, and that renews us. Because today, we live in two worlds. We're one of the few, and probably the only, that we have to know two languages. The Washichu language and our language, Lakoi or Nakoi. We have to know our language, because our language is who we are. It's our identity. It's our identity for us. It's our identity with our ancestors. And it's our identity for future generations. The 4 parts of our body is and we have to maintain them. Cha, our body. Kawachi, our mind. Chante, our heart. Nahi, our spirit. While your spirit is in your body, it's a nahi. When your spirit leaves your body, it's a wanahi. Wanahi means the spirit out of the body. But we say ghost. Your shichu is who we are, who we become, what makes us, what makes me Jim, what makes you you. So, you know, these tools are to help us in life, to help maintain our balance. When we dance, we have 2 feathers on top, 2 tail feathers, and they represent balance to us. That's why from the original Wapesha rope, we added a 2nd feather, because we believe in the balance in life. As I said, you know, I was told that when somebody is behaving bad, to always remember and have compassion for that person, because within them is good also. It's just that at that time they're unbalanced, and the bad has taken over. So these ceremonies, like I said, they're tools to help us in life. And I didn't mention every little thing, every little detail about them, but I gave a brief history of origin, where it come from. And this these were shared with me. You know, so I understand and I participated in them. So it's just, like I said, they're here to help us. We can look at life as simple or complex as we want. That medicine wheel, the basic concept is 4. 7, direction. We're the 7th direction. West, north, east, south, above, below. Your heart is the 7th direction. Then we have dope is 4 and 4, 16. And then we have 28. So we think of in terms of 4 and 7 and multiples of 4 and 7, sacred numbers. I know you have to go. I'm pretty much up on the time. I just I'll leave with this. We always hear about the virtues of being a good person. 4, 7, 12, and there's a story. A lot of people think that the white buffalo calf woman brought them to us, but she did, in a way. A woman had a dream a long time ago. In each of these virtues, there were men on horses. That man introduced himself to this woman and said, I'm walks with prayer. Then another one come. Waunshila Gluhamani Hemielu. On walks with compassion. So each of them came, introduced them to that woman, and told them that we should live with them. And they become wo'ope, the natural laws to live our life. So I'll probably go in more detail in the next session. Thank you all for coming and listening to me. As I mentioned, I began in my teen age, in the 70s, learning these things. And I was fortunate that these people came and shared with me. And I remember the stories and what they told me. And because of that, I was inspired to learn more. These people, my brother, learned and shared about the Black Hills and why it's sacred to us. But all these ceremonies, they originate there or close by. So I was told the pipe come when a time when great beasts roamed the earth, dinosaurs. We were here, and our language was crude. So the white buffalo calf woman, he gave us more words for our language then. And we still have these words. Wakia is the thunder beings. Those also were their name for those flying pterodactyls. So That's all old our language is. Gonna share one last thing. End with this song. Ihanke wawe, ihanke wawe, shugmane tu hechahena iaye. Ihanke wawe, ihanke wawe, shugmane tu tam kahe na iaye lo. Hey. My voice is kind of tired from talking. Yeah. The wolf is a teacher to us. When times are confusion and chaos in the hunt, the wolf will step back and will circle around its prey. While it's circling, it's thinking, what am I going to do next? And then once everything calms down, the confusion and chaos, then the wolf resumes the hunt. We say that to be that in life, when you're confused on what not to do, when you're not sure because your life is in chaos, step back, circle and be like the wolf. Things will come. Balance will be restored. The good times and bad times that come, they don't last. And that's to teach us that life is both good and bad. If you have a bad day, get over it. Looking forward to tomorrow. Oh, hechche to Allah. Thank you.
Dakshi. Beautiful presentations, and thank you, and everyone that's listening to us. Thank you for joining us, and until next time, I believe Dakshi Jim will be with us next week sometime, so we're all looking forward to it. So, petu ashte yuhapo mitakepe.
Doksha ke.
Stop.
Hey ha ya, hey ha ya.